Thank you. Good evening. Welcome to the Wareham Conservation Commission meeting of November 1st, 2023. The Wareham Conservation Commission will hold a meeting under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the General Laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and/or the Town of Wareham Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Division 6, and any other applicable laws on Wednesday, November 1st, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. All matters listed may involve a discussion and possible vote. All hearings of the Wareham Conservation Commission are held simultaneously under the authorities of the Wareham Wetland Protection Act and the Town of Wareham Wetland Protection Bylaw, Division 6. Although a single decision of the Commission is issued, it represents a separate decision under each authority. Roll call, please, starting with Jessica.
Jessica Parr.
Autumn Wood.
Carol Melanson.
Sandy Slavin.
Kwame Bardi.
Michael Mercier.
Paula Jean O'Neill.
And Joshua Faraday.
Thank you. Was that something? Did you all get up to Worcester? Oh, no, it was in Devon's. You have a good meetings?
I didn't know.
Learned a lot?
Yes.
Yes.
We have a request for continuances, and I'm going to read them now in case there's anybody here for those hearings. The 5 Cottage Street has rescinded their request for an RDA. We have the River Terrace property is continued until December 20th. The Prime Engineering 370 County Road has been continued until November 15th. Faring Hill LLC Hidden Trails has requested a continuance until 12/6. Off Tyonet Road for the boundary line has requested a continuance until 12/15. So if you're here for that, all those will be continued and there'll be no discussions. So for the first hearing, please, Carol.
Okay. Pursuant to the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Wareham Wetland Protective Bylaw, Division 6, a public hearing will be held in Room 320, Wareham Multi-Service Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass., on Wednesday, November 1st, 2023, at 6:30 p.m. On the request for determination of applicability for Peter DeFusco to demolish and remove the existing structures and restore the land with loam and seed, map 104, lot 1000, 2244 Cranberry Highway, Wareham, Mass.
Is there anybody here representing this project? Come forward and introduce yourself, please.
Hello, I'm Eric Olson with VHB, here to represent Eversource, the applicant.
I'm going to ask you, when you get seated, repeat your name and spell.
My next question is, can I stand or should
I need you
probably
seated
speak
at...
right in front of the microphone?
Yes, please.
That's fine. All right, Eric Olson with VHB, here to represent for 2244 Cranberry Highway, request for determination of applicability. Eversource is the applicant, so this is a depiction of the site. It is located, the larger they just acquired a property. It was formerly a residential property, and it's outlined down here along the river and up along the Carver Road extension and Cranberry Highway on the west side. And this is the delineated resources that VHB performed on the site. On the larger site, you have multiple wetlands. The Willimantic River, which is a perennial river, is down in the southern portion, or actually more eastern portion. And there is a mean annual or an ordinary high water line defining the 200-foot riverfront boundary from that river. Some of it is along the upland here. Most of it is defined by the boundary of this wetland number 3. The actual project area is up here in the far western corner. And with this, it's more of a close-up of the actual proposed work area. So the proposed work here is they acquired this residential property, and as of now, there's no plans for it. What they want to do is they just want to raise the existing structures and restore the land, and then sometime in the future, they're going to decide what they're going to do with the property. So the proposal is to just come in and raise the buildings and restore it with loam and seed. One building, I believe the residential structure has a foundation. I do not believe the other three do. I marked this as a shed, but it's really like an outbuilding. It looks like maybe if someone wanted to live there, they could. But these three structures, I believe, are just on the ground on a slab. This one has a foundation, so they'd bring in a little clean fill to backfill that before they restore it, but the other ones should just be raising the structures and then restoring it with loam and seed. So the activity qualifies as a minor activity in the buffer zone. The conversion of impervious surface to vegetated surfaces, providing that we use erosion controls during construction. And that also is exempt in the Wetlands Protection Act. It's exempt from the requirements of the RFA because it is a minor activity, but it's not exempt in the town bylaw in the riverfront area. So basically, any backfilling with clean fill would be in buffer zone only. That is outside of the 200-foot riverfront area. Activity within the riverfront area would be just raising these structures and restoring it. And basically, we're proposing to keep all the trees. There's a number of trees in the property. They're interdispersed. There's not a lot of them, but we're proposing to not cut any trees. We're also proposing to not cut any vegetation whatsoever, but there are a couple of bushes that are, kind of in close proximity to a couple of the structures. So if they're having a problem during construction, with that vegetation, then they might have to, just get rid of a couple of bushes, but they're gonna do it without it. We're proposing erosion controls along the entire perimeter between the wetland resource areas and the work, and a stabilized construction entrance. All this area, as you can see, it's kind of hard packed from years of use. So it doesn't seem like it's gonna be too complicated to access all of these through these areas that are already cleared. And then this one is right out off of Cranberry Highway right there. We're also proposing, I think there was there was an inlet over here somewhere near the road in the grass, and there might be one or two up here along Carver Road Extension. So we'll, put in silt sacks in any outlets, the outlet protection during construction. So do you have any questions?
Not yet. Mr. Josh, your turn. Your comments, please.
Is the construction fence gonna stay up during the entire project?
Oh, the fence that's installed right now?
Yeah.
Yes, I believe it would be, yeah.
Okay. So then the construction access would only be that purple boxed out area there?
Yeah, exactly, right along the driveway. I mean, it might make sense for this one right over here, since it's right along the road, and
Right,
there's just
yeah.
grass right there, to maybe access that over there, but if you would like that as a, condition with the RDA, it's something we can do.
No, it might be kind of silly for you to have to traverse the whole site when you could probably do most of that work right from the
Right.
edge there. And I think there already is a paved cutout on 28 that you can kind of pull off onto.
Yeah, that's right, you can see it right there, yeah.
Other than that, no, I have no other comments.
Okay.
Okay, questions? Jessica, I'll start with you.
No questions.
Autumn,
No questions, thank you.
Carol,
No questions, thank you.
Kwame,
Yeah, I went to visit the site, and there's a request to, not from me, but to remove a rose bush, if possible.
remove or save?
Save.
Save.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, there's rose bushes on site, did you?
There's like one.
Okay.
Not
Yeah.
from me. It's not, this is a question
All
overall
right.
question.
The
yeah.
plan is to preserve, all vegetation, so. they'll-
Well, I think you're gonna be removing that because it's up against some.
Is it right up on the
Yeah,
house?
yeah.
Okay.
I'll bring my shovel. I'll get it out of there.
I'm sure they'd let you do that.
Michael,
Yes. I went to go visit the site. Eversource has a site across the street, correct?
Yeah, the substation is right across the street. Yep.
Okay, so their plan is just to raise those buildings, backfill the house, and then just let it just preserve the
Yeah, they
land,
have
that's
no,
it?
they saw the chance to acquire property in proximity, but they have no plans for it. They
So
just,
there's no long-term goals of expansion onto that property, or that land site at this time,
there's
or?
no plans for the property right now. They just, that Eversource will acquire properties when they see the chance, but there's no plans. They will likely do something with it in the future, when I'm not sure, but, when they do, if it requires a filing in the future, they will, they would be back. But right now, there's no plans.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Paula Jean.
My guest, my question. No other questions, thank you.
Is Denise online? Okay, you answered my questions about the trees.
Okay.
What material will you use for erosion control?
I don't know what you guys, because I was here 2 years ago for 5 Dottie Street. So everything has to be biodegradable, right? So straw wattles, biodegradable material, right?
I mean, straw wattles, 8-inch, 12-inch?
Yeah, I think there's some trouble sourcing the larger straw wattles these days, but,
Okay,
I mean,
as opposed to hay bales and silk fence, those become messy.
yeah, I went out there. I didn't think the topography of the site was, I mean, it's relatively flat for
Okay.
most of it, so I think you could get away with a smaller erosion control.
All right. When you get rid of the materials, where will they go? They won't be kept on site, they'll be
No,
removed?
they'll be
and-
shipped off site and disposed of, and with whatever the law requires.
Okay,
And they have hired a company that does disposal, so if they encounter any hazardous waste, like,
Waste.
oil tank or whatever, they will
or
dispose
asbestos,
of it
it will be
legally.
taken care of?
Exactly, yes. So the company is already ready to go. They're just waiting for us to do this, and then they'll proceed.
This is a question, nothing to do with conservation.
Mm-hmm.
The house was built in 1920, I believe,
Okay,
the
I'm
main
not-
house. So my question is, do you have approval from a historic commission to remove this house? They have a hearing or control of anything that's more than 75 years old.
Okay.
So you may not have been aware of the Wareham Historic Commission needs to approve the removal of
That's
that
right.
property.
That's not in my
I know, but-
wheelhouse, but I did warn them of that as well. I said, I'm doing this permit for you, but you gotta understand that there's historical aspects as well as hazardous waste, and
Yes.
they said they have that end covered.
And
so.
the buildings don't look in too good of a shape. So, is there anybody here or online that would like to comment on this project? Seeing none,
Motion to close the hearing?
Second?
I have a motion to close the hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 0, 0. We're all here. Okay, Josh, what was your recommendation for this? You didn't,
I haven't said yet,
Okay.
but, the erosion controls are already on the plan, so it would be a -2 and a -6.
I move that we accept this project with a -2 and a -6 determination.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 700. You're approved. See Josh before you start any work for the paperwork. Okay, thank you. Next one, please.
This is on a request for notice of intent for Jeffrey Johnson and Amanda Cutt. Installation of a patio and fence within land subject to coastal storm flowage and vegetation restoration on a coastal bank. Map 22 and Lot D8, 16 Widows Cove Lane, Wareham, Mass.
Thank you.
Did I get you? Sorry. Careful with the German accent. It's got a little bit of a plug in the
And
little
who's,
sprinkler.
and who is here representing this project, please?
Good evening, Brad Bertolo with JC Engineering.
Jeff Johnson, the owner. Oh, Jeffrey.
Okay.
Jeff's son.
Brad, you're up.
Thank you. Again, this property is located at 16 Widows Cove Lane. Involves a number of small projects on the site. This filing is being done to address some issues with some past landscaping projects on the site where he remove some vegetation along the top of the coastal bank, some invasive species. Didn't take everything out, but there was definitely some holes in the vegetation that need to be restored. At the same time, there are a couple of other projects he would like to do to the house that does involve a filing with this commission. There is a number of alterations to the proposed house. All of that work is outside of the jurisdiction. There is a proposed patio being constructed on the north and east side of the house that slightly goes into the floodplain, roughly in the area of the septic tank that's kind of on the right side of the property. Again, the grade over there is relatively level, so there's no grade changes proposed. There was at one point a deck in that location, so that has been previously removed. And actually, a good portion on that right side was a pool that was filled in. So pretty much just working in an area that was previously altered at one time. On the west side of the project, Mr. Johnson would like to construct a fence along the property line. Most of that, some of that area is outside of jurisdiction, but we are proposing along the property line right down to the top of the coastal bank. We are proposing work within the 30-foot, which would involve hand digging posts, for small hole for a fence post. The area is all grass. We're not removing any shrubbery or plantings. Since this plan's been prepared, the owner would actually like to potentially, as with the installation of the fence, possibly do some landscaping on his side just to spruce it up. Currently, the site is pretty much lawn, a number of trees throughout it, so just aesthetically, he'd like to kind of add some more vegetated areas along the site, along the fence line. The last item, obviously, would be the restoration of the areas disturbed along the top of the coastal bank. Again, he maybe went overboard, maybe not, but he thought pulling out the vines that were there that was kind of choking out the existing vegetation, raked out the leaves, kind of created bare spots. Obviously, some of the shrubbery or branches within that shrub line were removed, so we are proposing to restore that. We have a list of various saltwater tolerant shrubs, bearberry, bayberry, beach plum, juniper, that is proposed to be planted along that whole area to fill it back in. We have pictures from, I believe, May of early this year. It's pretty much the only vegetation in that area was just along the top of that coastal bank. And see any difference in vegetation between, the house and the brush that was along the bank. Pretty much just grass as it was, even when you bought the property, correct? Just
Yeah, there was no change. Only like, as you had mentioned, the roses that were there that my wife loved so much, all of a sudden weren't blooming, they would die, the leaves turned brown, and there was vines going throughout the bushes. So I mistakenly, as I know now, ripped all that out and cleaned out the vegetation throughout, and in an effort to prevent some of them. As a matter of fact, some of them are still there. I didn't even rip. The goal was to save as much as possible, but things continued to get worse. So the goal was, the wife wants the roses back. If the roses would have been good, we plan on putting roses where the roses were. So it's not even a case of wanting to change the existing flower or brushes that are there.
Before I turn this to Josh, your roses are not on your shrubbery list.
we do have a,
I don't see Rosa
Yeah.
rugosa or,
well, not
well,
that
I don't see
species.
any roses on your
Yeah.
potential list.
Well, I do have a note just that states that the contractor needs to contact the town if other varieties are going to be used.
Before we turn to Josh, I have a question. I didn't see anything about what type of fence. Did I miss it?
We're
Talk to that?
just proposing a, 6-foot privacy fence
A
between the two.
solid fence. Okay. I'm sorry, Josh, your turn.
I think I think the impetus for this project was the violation that was found. It's hard for the commission to say whether it was invasive or not if the only notification we get is after it's all gone. So it's tough for us to make determinations like that. Normally what I'll tell people is give me a call. I'm more than happy to come out to the site. We can talk about it, move forward with that. What Brad has proposed in terms of revegetation, I think satisfactorily meets, the violation at hand. I think this is an important decision for the commission to make on what kind of work may or may not be allowable in the 30-foot no activity zone. I think you guys should make a decision on that tonight, and we need to stick to that moving forward. Not to say that you haven't done that in the time that I've been here, but I think historically there have been sites that I've been to where the line is kind of gray. So I think if, we're gonna make a decision tonight, we need to really start making that decision. As far as the rest of the work on the site, it falls in with what is approvable, and my recommendation would be to issue an order of conditions.
Okay. Jessica?
Can you come back to me?
Okay. Autumn?
Hi, thank you for the plan. I know this was already spoken to by Josh, and Sandy questioned the material of the fence. There is work proposed within the 30-foot no activity zone. I just want to bring that up in front of the commission, that in my time with the commission, we have not allowed work within the 30-foot zone. And that's the stance that I plan to take to meet our state and local laws.
Okay. Carol,
No questions at this time, thank you.
for me.
No questions, thank you.
Michael?
Pretty much no questions. Everything's already been addressed about the work in the 30-foot no activity zone and everything else. Thank you.
Paula Jean?
I took a look out there yesterday also, and that's clearly in the 30-foot zone, so that was my main concern. And also, there's a swing from a tree. I'm not sure if that's 30 feet back from the water or not. It's kind of close, but just a comment on that. I observed it.
Yeah. What we've been, 30-foot no activity is 30-foot no activity. So that fence would be stopping at the 30-foot mark, and we would be asked for some type of signs or something in the yard to say 30-foot, no activity beyond that. We have that type of marking that we can have the homeowner buy and put in the lawn, so it says no activity beyond this point. I am disturbed that the material along the banking had been pulled out without recognizing what type it was or what type of damage could have been done to the bank by removing, even if it is invasives, it has to be done carefully. And the replanting, I expect a fine to be issued of $300 for removing it without approval and a full restoration of the banking, but that's up to the rest of the commission. I am concerned about a 6-foot solid fence, only on one side of it. So there would be no attempt to fence off the yard to keep animals or people inside the yard, correct? It's just a privacy fence on one edge, on one side of the property?
Well, there is an existing privacy fence on the other side of the property, so there's no,
Oh, I didn't see it
It's
in the,
not on
I
this-
didn't see it
it's-
on the plan.
yeah, it's off the property into the neighboring lots.
It's on the other side of the easement, ma'am.
Yeah.
So the easement has a fence on one side,
Correct.
but it's on
Yeah.
your property, but,
It's not, the fence isn't
It's-
on my property.
It's on the,
okay.
72 Burgess.
So if you go down the easement, there's only one fence on the east side
yeah,
and
there's a
not on
fence.
your property side.
Yeah.
I think I've been down this easement before, because I think we had some property on the other side of this Whittle Cove circular thing
Yes.
not too long
There's a
ago.
new building.
Yeah, and,
The owner of the owners that are on the other side of the easement bought the property across the street
Yes, because part of it was looking at the water leaving the cul-de-sac, or whatever you, the circle, draining off into Onset Bay, right? We've had this before. Water accessing this, I should say, draining off of the pavement, going down to the Onset. Now, is there anything in our bylaws that talk about some type of setback for the fence, or does it go right on the property line?
Now, we usually recommend, you know, at least 6-inch, 12-inch buffer roughly in that area.
Okay,
We have nothing in our bylaws for
so,
it.
no, we don't, I just asked the question.
Yep.
Notice me, the historical side, I do every once in a while break the law and ask non-conservation questions.
If I can interrupt, Sandy,
Yeah.
this is what the privacy fence looks like on the other side of the property.
Okay. And the right-of-way is where we see the bushes?
So the easement falls, for the most part, between the bushes and that fence.
On the other side of the bushes?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay,
There's a little path that's on the backside
Yeah.
of those shrubs that run pretty much all the way out to the street. Yeah, I think it was set up as a drainage easement when this
I think it was
this
because of
subdivision
the,
was,
because of the pavement that was put in.
and that only goes, the pavement doesn't even, it's in flood zone, but it doesn't get within 100 feet of the top of coastal bank.
No, okay. Is there anybody here that would like to speak for or against this particular project?
So we
I would expect somebody would be online. We did receive a
We did
letter.
receive a letter, if you would like. Do you have it? I can pull it up and read it if you'd like.
I have it. Would you please?
Yep, just give me 1 second, sorry.
Is there, John, is there somebody online? Yes. Okay. We'll read the letter we received, because I want it read into the minutes.
I will, just give me a second to pull it up.
Regarding the 30-foot, again, I know it's all grass out there at this time, and if the commission does not want to see a fence installed, they'd be willing to allow shrubbery, a natural fence, plants, shrubs, trees, or anything like that to be planted. That would actually be more holes because there'd be more shrubs, but again, it's vegetation that you would think would benefit the buffer zone
Okay.
as opposed to a fence. He wants to run it down the whole property line anyways, so I just don't know how the commission feels about restoring plants and shrubs in a 30-foot no-touch. Again, this is previously altered right up to the top of the coastal bank. This bylaw wasn't in effect when these lots were created, when they were all, prepared. It's grass lawn like most every other house on these that front on the water. So it typically mows it like any other property, so.
All right. Josh, before you, Jessica, do you have your questions?
No, I don't have any questions,
Okay.
thank you.
Please.
So the commission received a letter. It was addressed to the chair and the commission members. It says, we received the notification of abutters for 16 Widows Cove Lane involving the vegetation restoration on the coastal bank and the construction of a fence and patio. We have reviewed the building plans and the site plans attached to the notice. Although we have no objections or concerns regarding the restoration of the vegetation or the building of the patio, we do have concerns and objections to the construction of a fence extending down the coastal bank between our two properties. Our concerns are listed as follows. The proposed fence location seems to serve no useful or aesthetic purpose, as it appears on the site plan only to divide our two properties. Upon the purchase of the property, Mr. Johnson put a post and wire fence up between our properties and along the easement sides of the property. When I asked him about the fence at the time, he expressed that it was temporary, but that it was containing his dog. The dog tore parts of the fence and was not contained. The fence was not maintained and was finally removed. We do not trespass on their property. Per the plan, the remainder of the property remains fenceless. There is no fence shown along the easement across the bank at the rear of the yard. Given this information, the purpose of the fence cannot be argued as containment for their dog, for the safety of their young child, keeping her from wandering out of their yard or down the waterfront. The fence as shown on the plan extends through both the 30-foot and the 100-foot coastal bank offsets governed by the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act. Our understanding is that no permanent structures were to be placed in these areas. There is no description as to what type of fence is being proposed, especially in regard to height and material, which is cause for concern. Obviously, depending on the height, this could affect aesthetics, also mentioned in the bylaw, and property values for the neighboring properties along the waterfront. It goes without saying that one of the major qualities of the waterfront properties in the area is the commanding view of Onset Harbor and Buzzards Bay. The neighbors along the bank have for years deliberately, respectfully, and willingly maintained that unobstructed view for each other by not adding fences to their landscapes. There is also movement on the wildlife along the bank, including geese, fox, and deer, which would be impeded by a fence. In addition, depending on the material used, degradation of the fence over time could certainly impact the wetland due to the leaching of toxic materials near the waterfront. In closing, we respectfully ask that you consider these points in your determinations regarding the placement of the fence between our properties as shown on the plan.
John, who's online?
I have one, Suzanne Broderick.
You let her in, please.
Do you have, who wrote that letter?
Good evening.
David Broderick and Susan Broderick.
Hey, Suzanne, please identify
Yes,
yourself.
I'm here. I'm here.
We need your name, please.
Susan Broderick.
All right. Would you like to speak to this project?
I would like to speak to the project. I'm really concerned about the obstruction between our 2 yards. I don't really see a purpose for it. It not only does obstruct our view, a 6-foot solid fence would be an obstruction, but it also obstructs the view from the property across the street, which is a water view property. And I'm just really concerned about this.
Okay, thank you.
Could I?
Yes, Jeff, your turn.
So to clarify, if it makes a difference and yes, there is some safety regards as far as letting my dog and/or because she can't go on the other side, there will be a fence and that fence will enclose off the building, which is number one. Number two being, they're saying there's no need for privacy. Susan's husband, on multiple occasions, has come up to
Can we
me.
not do personal? You have an issue?
Well, part of the fence is a protection. They're stating the use of the fence is not necessary. I'm saying that a fence makes good neighbors, and rather than being called an asshole and a piece of shit.
Okay,
If you could keep your comments to the Wetlands Protection Act, or our.
And I
bylaw.
apologize, but that's what I have to deal with. And I'd rather not. That bluntness and that type of person coming in to my property border and stepping into my yard to say that
okay,
in front of my wife and 2-year-old daughter.
all right.
Again, a fence, we are requesting permission for the activities to install a fence. The type of fence isn't under purview of this commission. It's just the activities to install it.
We don't normally have a description of the fence that's going in. It was not on the documents, and I just wanted it in the minutes that what type of fence was being installed.
Yep.
That was a question that had been asked by the abutter, and
Yeah.
I wanted to be able to
Oh, that's
provide
fine.
an answer.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep, and I mean, the commission has approved fences within the 100 foot to the coastal bank offset, that it's totally
Yep.
approvable. Within the 30 foot, that's a a more strict restriction that the commission has taken under our bylaw, so, you do have the ability for the, not allowing it within our 30-foot no activity zone.
And the discussion about the plantings
Along the fence?
along that 30-foot to the coastal bank, there was a suggestion that plantings could be there to replace a fence for the last 30 feet.
So the commission has allowed for plantings and vegetation management within our 30-foot no activity zone.
Yes.
You know, there's arguments to be made that any natural buffer along the buffer to a resource area only benefits it.
And we have a list of the potential, so that if I take a look at what's here, Northern Bayberry, Beach Plum, and Common Jupiter, there's nothing here of any height, so it would stay low growing. I'm not seeing trees, I'm not seeing,
Well, again, the planting,
Arborvitae.
planting along this fence area was new since this submittal. These are just typical salt water tolerant species that are suitable for this environment.
and would you
So-
put that type of vegetation in replace of the last 30 feet of fencing? Or are you gonna be putting in heavy growth, high, solid plants?
Plants, shrubs, trees, it's just a mix of whatever's going to go in there.
I was just thinking of the same continuation of the vegetation that's going along the coastal, just keep it coming up 30 feet. Just all the same type of plants.
Aesthetically, that would have a little bit of an awkward look. I would say this to the commission, my preference would be is we're going to put together with those three a mix of the coastal, and then any other plants that is deemed by the committee, we'd like the opportunity, because what I don't know, obviously, we'd like to do this in the spring. It doesn't seem to make a lot of sense now, as the likelihood of it surviving the winter would be a challenge. And then the second part would be the availability of such shrubs and the cost determination with regards to what in fact is going to be available and for what cost it would be. So I would certainly come back to the commission and say, hey, this is what we're going to plant. Or it would ideally be within the guidelines that the commission already has in place.
We always have a note on our plan that states that if different varieties are used, to contact the agent to make sure they're suitable for the environment
And
and
as a
not
matter of fact,
invasive.
Josh also said to me, he said, listen, if there is something that isn't unavailable, just let me know. And I told him I would certainly do so.
Okay. What do you recommend?
So the recommendation, which I think is concurrent with what the commission has decided, would be no construction of the fence within our 30-foot no activity zone. The list or any alteration of the list to the restoring of the coastal bank will be approved either tonight or by me in the field, dependent on availability of plants or what makes sense. The work that, the vegetation management that would have been approved, that was done without a permit, the commission normally sets a fine of $200. So a fine of $200, and I think that's it.
I think it's 300. Would we have approved it? Because we want full restoration, and that tended to be the 300, but you're thinking it's the 200?
So from what we understand, it was management of invasive species on the coastal bank
And some rose bushes.
and some rose bushes. So, I would look at that as maybe if he had come to us with a plan for vegetation management being the invasive species and removal of the rose bushes for native salt-tolerant plants,
approved
you
it.
would have approved it, so.
The 30-foot no work, no activity zone markings on the edge of the fence,
Yeah,
do we put it in the yard?
so I'd say on projects that you have deemed the 30-foot no activity signs to be placed, these were on unaltered 30-foot no activity zones.
Okay,
Where this is a already altered lawn down to the water, I don't think it makes sense for the commission to have him put in a post in the middle of his yard. But maybe along the boundaries of the property on either side, you know, maybe one right where the fence ends and one on the other side, I think that would be more appropriate. But
Okay.
the 30-foot no activity sign is something the commission has been holding with new projects.
There is an existing utility pole on the property line now that happens to be just about at the 30-foot, so that would be a good spot to tack a sign on.
okay. When the standard order for conditions indicates low nitrogen releasing fertilizer, what do you do in your yard now for your green grass?
As far as, what do
What
I
do you
put
use for
down?
fertilizer
I
on your
don't-
green grass?
I go to Home Depot and get, I don't know what it's called. I'm not sure
Just that be careful because your order of conditions limits the type of fertilizer you may now use on your lawn.
oh, that's fine.
Okay.
Sure.
Anything else from the commission? Anybody else want to comment on this project? John, anybody else online?
Not at this time.
All right,
Are we continuing or
No.
are we closing?
I think
partial?
I'm seeing nobody else. I think
Motion to
it's time to
close the-
close the hearing.
Motion to close the hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, we're closed. I guess we need a formal recommendation. Again,
Okay. A fine of $200. The fence cannot be placed within our 30-foot no activity zone. Plantings of native species will be allowed in the 30-foot no activity zone. Plants that are not listed on the planting plan that Brad has provided may be substituted with the discretion of the conservation administrator.
signs.
And 30-foot no activity Wareham coastal resource signs shall be added to either side of the property. I guess 2 signs on each side of the property is a better way to term it.
So moved.
So ideally, just so I'm clear too in this, one would go on the telephone pole that I think Brad mentioned, and I think you're familiar with. The other would go on the easement side.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, okay. Yeah.
Well, the end of the fence.
I think the telephone pole is on the side where the fence is being proposed,
Okay,
and I would say the other one could go on that other fence that's already,
That's not my fence.
oh,
We'll put it in
Then-
that,
then
we'll put
you
it in
can-
I'll
that.
put something,
yeah.
put
you
a
can-
there's a
stake in
tree there
the,
or
put a
whatever.
stake in the ground and put the
Po-
sign
yeah,
on it or
or
something.
post.
there's a tree there.
Okay,
There's a large oak tree that happens to fall in that area too. So I'll
Okay.
put it there, and then that way people who use the easement will understand also.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sorry, I
so-
didn't realize that fence
So
wasn't yours.
there's that motion.
So moved.
I have a motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? We're 700. Before you do anything, see Josh?
Can I say one more thing, and I apologize, just because we are here. If the shrubs that are decided for within the planting of that 30-foot zone, would the commission have any reason for me to continue that all the way up in place of the fence, if I would like?
So you want to plant instead of the fence?
If I did plants instead of the fence, because I'm just saying, throwing it out there while I have everybody's time, and I appreciate the aesthetics of a fence, and then all of a sudden 30 feet, if it looks nice, I would just carry it up to,
You'd have to come to us for an amended order of conditions,
I
because
will do so then.
we have approved this and the hearing is closed.
okay. I wanted to make sure I understood.
So,
No, that's fine.
okay,
I appreciate
Brad?
it, thank you.
Alrighty.
So if that is to be the case, you would have to come to us for an amended order of conditions.
I will do so.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Next, please. Was that
On the
it?
request for an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation from Manuel D. Miranda to confirm the boundary of the bordering vegetated wetlands.
Did we miss something? Oh,
No.
I am Michael Wright, 5 Cottage Street is the next item on our agenda.
Oh, yeah, we do
Yeah.
have to make a,
And they've asked to be withdrawn, so I believe we need a vote to rescind the particular project.
so the motion would be to rescind the project at 5 Cottage Street.
That's the motion.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? Just needed to make that a formal withdrawal. Okay. The next one is a continued hearing. We already did the 10, 14, and 16 has already been continued, and the 20th. Which one? Did I miss one?
I just read.
No,
That's coming after, okay, all right.
The Prime Engineering at 370 County Road has already been continued until the 15th. We have the next hearing is Faring Hill LLC, County Road 2004. Hidden Trails, they would like a continuance until 12/6, and we need to vote on that one.
Yep.
Motion to continue till, you said 12/6?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, it's continued until 12/6. The next hearing is off Tyhonet Road. They have asked for a continuance until 12/15.
11:15.
11:15. I wrote the wrong down. And we're waiting on for the final report from the person who did the,
Our peer review,
thank you,
Alan and
peer
Major.
review. Yep. So I need a motion to continue until 11:15.
So moved.
Second?
Second?
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, it's continued until November 15th. Now we have the D. Miranda one, which is a continuation of, is this new or new?
This is new.
This is
It's
new.
just-
Okay, Carol, you can read that one now.
Okay. This is on a request for abbreviated notice of resource area delineation for Manuel D. Miranda to confirm the boundary of the bordering vegetated wetland, map 133 and lots 1,000, B3, 30, 31A, 55, and 56, 2711 Cranberry Highway, Wareham, Mass.
Thank you. And who's here representing that project, please?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Brian Grady with GAF Engineering.
Okay, you're up.
All right, we're here looking for confirmation of the bordering vegetated wetland line at this property, approximately 460 feet, flags A2 through A22 on the site, delineated by Brad Holmes of Environmental Consulting and Restoration. I know Josh has been out there. I don't know if anyone else had the opportunity to get out there, so we're just awaiting any feedback.
It's just woods, not much to look at. Josh?
Yep, just sharing the plan now. I met with Brad Holmes of ECR, oh geez, it must have been a couple months ago now. We walked the wetland line. I saw no need for him to move any of his flags. They all seemed either on the wetland line or a little landward of the wetland line. So the recommendation would be to vote to approve the ANRAD.
Just the question, why do we have a 50-foot no activity zone as opposed to a 30? Is there a reason?
Well, it's just a commercial zone.
Okay, thank you. Questions? Jessica?
No questions.
Autumn?
No questions, thank you.
Carol?
No questions.
Kwame?
No questions, thanks.
Michael?
No questions, thank you.
Paula Jean?
No questions, thank
I
you.
have none. I believe that's the idea is just to confirm the bordering vegetation wetlands, right?
Correct.
Yep. So,
Just that,
yeah.
confirm the lines.
Yeah, I think it would be a vote to approve the ANRAD and the plan submitted.
All right, that's the motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed, abstained, done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we have an extension request for 150 Tyonet Road, and we'll take up 27 George Pond Road at the same time. Josh?
Yep, and I believe they do have a representative that was going to attend via Zoom. Do you see anyone? Yeah, yep.
Is that Andrew back? Okay.
Good evening, everyone. Dean Smith from New Leaf Energy.
So just to recap, we got these extension requests at our last meeting. There was discussion about how our bylaw is read, and I wanted to confirm with town council how they interpreted it. And it looks like under the Wareham Protective Bylaw that we should issue a 1-year extension. So the recommendation would be an extension of 1 year. We did receive some letters about this project that I shared with the commission via email, and denying the project doesn't, or denying the extension doesn't really make sense because none of the Wetlands Protection Act or our bylaw has changed since you first approved the project. So the 1-year extension seems appropriate.
All right. Questions? Dean, is there anything else from you?
Not really. We did avoid the 100-foot area around the potential vernal pools, stayed out of the 50-foot no activity zone. And there's a minimal amount of our stormwater treatment areas and our fence line that are in the outer part of the buffer. But we did avoid it to the maximum extent possible on both of these projects.
Thank you.
And our request is related to delays in the interconnection application. All of the projects in this area went into an overall group study that has been delayed for a substantial amount of time with the utility.
Thank you. Jessica, anything?
No questions.
Autumn?
No questions, thank you.
Carol?
No questions, thank you.
Tommy?
No questions, thanks.
Michael?
No questions, thank you.
Paula Jean?
No questions, thank you.
I have been asked to include in our minutes a letter from Community Land and Water Coalition, and I believe we're going to put the first 5 pages as the comments from that organization in our minutes, so we'll make sure that they are included. I don't need the 50-some-odd pages, I just want the first 5 pages that were comments on it.
Understood.
And the motion will be to a 1-year extension on our order of conditions. Agreed? That's the motion, so
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 1 year. Okay, I hope you get everything done within that 1 year.
Thank you. And that would be 1 year from the effective date of each of the orders.
That's correct, 1
Yes.
year from the
Okay.
expiration. And then our bylaw doesn't allow for any more extensions after that, so a new filing would be required.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time this evening.
Thank you. We have another extension request, Josh?
That's correct. And again, this is just, it's a project that didn't meet the time frame of the order of conditions. So the recommendation is to issue a 1-year extension.
When did it expire? It's about to expire.
It has not expired.
Okay.
I could tell you that.
Well, no, that's all I wanted to make sure that
okay.
it hadn't expired, that we are extending it before it expired.
That's correct.
Okay,
The
so-
commission can't extend anything that's expired.
All right. So the request was a 1-year extension.
Well, the request was more than 1 year, but
We're
the
gonna.
recommendation is a 1-year
Year-
extension.
A one-year extension. I need a motion.
Move to extend the project for 1 year?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 700. We're 7. Okay, so that's done. Now we're on to certification of compliance request.
Yep, so, we'll take them all individually, but I reviewed all the plans and I made a site visit to all the sites, and they are in conformance with what was originally approved. So I will lay out the motion to issue a certificate of compliance for 9092 Minot Ave, SE 0762649.
So moved.
Second.
And a motion and a second, all in favor? 600, 700.
700.
All of them are 700. I don't know why I keep saying 6, and it's mine it.
I'm not a Wareham native,
He said mine.
sorry,
No.
excuse me. I'll get
Okay.
there.
Next one, please.
The next one is 67 Parkwood Drive, SE 0761472, and to issue a certificate of compliance.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 700. Next one, please.
71 Parkwood Drive, Wareham, DEP file number SE 0761471, and to issue a certificate of compliance.
That's an old one. The last two have been old.
Yeah?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 700.
And the final one, again, is 71 Parkwood Drive, SE 0761923, and it's to issue a certificate of compliance.
So moved.
And second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 700. Now we're on to a project discussion with Mike Marzullo. Anybody here that wants to speak to that one?
You may be online, John.
Somebody there?
Yeah.
Yep.
Hope that's not them.
We're having a very hard time understanding you.
Check mark.
We can't understand it.
Is that in Calvin?
Were there two people?
Yeah, what
Could be the weather, who knows?
Mr. Marzullo, Mr. Marzullo, we can not understand anything you're saying. Maybe try to leave the hearing and rejoin.
While waiting, would you like to discuss it?
I don't know enough about it to discuss it. He just asked to be heard by the commission about the project.
Where is it,
We-
where's the location?
I can pull up the location and we can talk about it briefly. I don't know what his actual project would entail though.
Okay,
So, let me,
just remind us where it is.
sure. I will pull up a map and we can at least look at the area.
The second individual about the raise, their hand raised is joining now, and I'll be able to speak a little bit better. Okay. They're in, they just need to unmute
me share my screen and we can at least talk briefly about the area. And I could try to describe what I think the idea of the project is, but, okay, so this is located in the Swiss Beach portion of town, specifically at the end of Murphy and, what road is this here?
Yep,
It's
that's
not-
Murphy. Keep going.
Yeah, so, here's Murphy, and this road here that I don't know the name of, but,
That
so,
would be Wonkinko more than likely.
Wonkinko would be down here.
Okay,
Yeah, so it's,
here's Murphy.
yeah, here's Murphy. Yeah, regardless of what that street is, here is the project location or, potential project. So what you see here outlined in yellow is, paper streets of a subdivision that was approved at one point in time. These are broken, there are individual lots broken into this subdivision of these paper roads, but they are all owned, this entirety is owned by Mr. Marzullo, who is constructing a home here.
And that area is all marsh.
Yep, so.
There's no upland.
Yep, so there's marsh along the tree line, and within the tree line, there's probably some expanse of BVW. There's coastal beach down here, and what you see here is the destruction of salt marsh from people accessing the end of Columbia Street down to the water. Mr. Marzullo, while he owns the property, has not been the culprit of this destruction. It's people from within Swiss Beach that believe they have the right to access down these paper streets that technically are owned by Mr. Marzullo.
Do you know if he's proposing to build these on stilts or?
This is within a salt marsh. That would not be, it's not permittable there. It looks like, I would say the extent of buildable land is where he is building his house. I would say none of this portion of land is buildable.
Mr.
And-
Marzullo is also in now, so
Oh.
we should be able to.
Mike, can you introduce yourself?
I'm Mike Marzullo, 155 Candy Lane, Brockton, Mass. Building at 9 Murphy Street.
Gotcha. So, Mike, I don't know if you kind of heard the overview that I given to the commission, but I was just explaining that you pretty much own entirely the land from your construction westward.
Correct. These lots right here are Nazi's.
Is he?
These two. This one?
So, my
you see
screen
my
is being
cursor?
shared and we can't see what you're pointing to.
Okay.
Uh,
I gotta hit screen share here.
let me stop sharing and you'll be able to share your screen.
Okay.
There you go. Right, does he have that ability? Okay.
That's next to the Wareham Land Trust property, isn't it?
Sounds like it.
Okay. Steward for a while.
Well, with the way you guys are buying land, I think a lot of property will be next to your property.
We're trying. Seeing how,
All right, can you see the screen?
It doesn't appear that you are sharing, not yet.
Share screen.
Oh, yeah, he has access. The same way
There we
Josh
go.
does. There he goes.
Can you see it now?
Okay, it's loading, it'll be there in a moment.
There we go.
Okay, this is the house lot right here. Can you see my cursor?
We can.
Okay. So, what we discussed earlier is this area right here. This is the corner of a paper road, Short Street, that you previously had up on your map. This whole area here is a dumping ground for the people who live on Barnes Street. And it's absolutely loaded with all kinds of cuttings, trees, debris, and all various manner of construction debris, including pavers from somebody's sidewalk that it's in here, and it's recent. And the only way to stop it, I feel, this is where the 30-foot no activity zone is, that approximately about the same place where the dirt part of Murphy Street ends. It's not a paved street. It's about 30 feet wide, and it comes up from the intersection of Winkinqua and Barnes, and my house lot is the last one on that street. And this area right here where my cursor is moving, in this area where it says assesses map 50B1, is the primary area where the dumping's going on. And based on the flavor of the earlier conversations this evening, I would say that what we talked about, putting a split rail fence from here to here, is a non-starter for the Conservation Commission, if I'm reading the room properly.
If it's within the 30-foot no activity, I believe the Conservation Commission would deny that project.
Right. So I'm not sure. This line right here is the beginning of the 30-foot no activity zone, and I guess this is the beginning of it. This other line that says wet 46, 48.
Yep, those would be the wetland flags
Yep.
as numbered.
So is this area all up in here all wetland too?
Yeah, I believe that's the extent of your salt marsh.
Okay, so yeah, so what I wanted to do was put a split rail fence right down Murphy Street to the end of my house lot, and put signs on it, no dumping, because the people on Bond Street, who I can show you on this one here. These houses right here along Murphy Street, this is 8 and 9 Murphy Street. There's 2 little white cottages that are being renovated right now. And these houses all here have access from Barn Street. These 3 houses bought another property that was a half an acre, split it up into 3, and they have extended their backyards down into close to the, if not over, the paper road Murphy Street and onto some of Nazi's lots. And when they cut their grass and they cut their trees and trimmings, and when they leveled all this out down here, they dumped it all back on my property over here. This is the beginning of Short Street right here. So this is where my house lot is.
And we don't have a definitive site plan of what the rest of the salt marsh delineation is, right? you kind of just have what the extent was for the construction of your house?
Correct. This is what GAF prepared when they did the superseding order of conditions for my build.
So I'll try to reiterate kind of why I believe that you're in front of the commission tonight, and that was that you were looking for their insight on building a post and rail fence to deter people from entering the salt marsh and dumping or accessing the water, where you were looking to put up, maybe some conservation resource area signs, along with potentially no trespassing signs. Is that kind of the gist of
Yes.
why you're here tonight?
The trespassing through and disturbing the salt marsh is a totally different issue than the dumping of their yard waste and construction debris, whatever they do over there on Street, because they back up to this property and there's no real street that exists right here. It's just this, it's a paper road, the continuation of Murphy all the way down to Columbia, which you had on the screen that you showed, that overlay over the, looked like an aerial, maybe a Google map,
Yep.
Google Earth overlay there. So this road is actually, this is people's backyards, and they just come right across from their backyards and dump on my property over here because nobody can see them doing it. This is marsh over here, and this is woods here. So they just go in from the area that's grassy or marshy and accessible and dump it in here in the woods. And this is all no activity zone, I would imagine.
It would be considered a resource area, so.
And this is the no activity zone in between, right? 30-foot no activity zone.
Yep, so what you have is you have a line that's defined with those wetland flags. It looks like it's the W and then the number followed by it. That's how they define the wetland line.
Right.
Anything, I would say, closer to the salt marsh is considered a resource area, and it has performance standards on what you can and can't do within that zone.
And I would say that includes dumping, correct?
I would agree with you, yes. And then our 30-foot no activity zone would be that wetland line landward out of the jurisdictional area, where the commission has deemed that portion of land important to the health of the jurisdictional area, and that's why we have a no activity zone. It creates a buffer between any construction and the resource area.
I understand.
But you're right, the dumping of yard waste or construction material does not meet the performance standard of any jurisdictional area.
Is there anything we can do with a paper road? Fencing along a paper road as opposed to what we've said, no activity, 30-foot no activity, does that make it different if it is defined as a street?
I mean, it's only defined as a street on these maps. And these maps do not supersede a jurisdictional area.
Okay.
So while the commission does allow, for instance, road maintenance to take place within certain jurisdictional areas, these are not what would be considered traditional roads, and they are not exempt to the bylaw.
Okay. So how do we stop the dumping? How do we help him stop the dumping? It's illegal.
Yes, and that's where I've had an issue with this type of violation, because we are kind of handcuffed to finding property owners for violations within their property. And to fine or give Mr. Marzullo an enforcement order for something that he's clearly not doing, I don't think would be productive in any manner.
No, and we don't, until we catch somebody doing the dumping, we don't know who has done the dumping.
Correct. I think he's specifically here for the problem of the dumping. And other than where our 30-foot no activity zone, he could apply for a permit to put in a post and rail fence along that line. I don't think that prevents the dumping of materials onto his property, because these other properties back up to his property, which is the salt marsh.
Could we put a post with our no activity zone sign on it? Several posts? A string of posts that isn't really a fence, but it is
Yeah, so I think.
strung together, sort of.
Yeah, so there are exemptions in the bylaw for the reduction of the 30-foot no activity zone. But you're also proposing for these poles to be placed in a jurisdictional area. It's not that I don't think the reduction of the 30-foot no activity zone and the work permitted inside of it is going to allow for what he's trying to accomplish.
Okay.
It would be a permit to place post and rail fence within a salt marsh, or just post within a salt marsh. And we can look into the performance standards of the salt marsh. There are communities that have allowed osprey poles within salt marshes. There are communities that have approved, I would say, physical markers for the measuring of landward expansion of salt marshes in sense of it's a place that they can use for surveying. So they've allowed for surveying structures within the salt marsh.
And we have allowed for ospreys within salt marshes.
So, I think this is really a conversation of what the commission would deem as acceptable within the salt marsh, as long as it's can meet the performance standards of the salt marsh under the Wetlands Protection Act. And I don't have those regulations memorized, I'm sorry, but I could look into that and see if it's appropriate.
Okay.
Mike, in your opinion, would a string of just posts, no rails, with signage kind of accomplish what you're looking for tonight?
Yeah, because even if we put a fence here, they can simply go right down here, which is tall grass, basically before the woods. And they've also come in through here. So even if I put a fence there and no fence down this way, they're gonna just keep coming in through here and dumping in here. There's so much cuttings in there, it's unbelievable. You'd never think it was a resource area. It's a resource area for dumping.
Yes, so I think we've had the conversation of, I don't want to fine you for something that's clearly not your fault. And this may require you to do a little bit more research and maybe who's doing it, see if you can catch them in the act in some way, and maybe hire an attorney to kind of figure out what the best mode forward is for, someone dumping on your property.
Mike, have you brought it up to the organization, the Swiss Beach Improvement Organization?
I'm sorry?
Have you brought this concern up to the Swiss Beach Improvement Association?
No.
It might be a place to start.
Okay. I've got a fairly good idea all the people who are involved in the dumping, but I'm not going to cast any aspersions in this venue. But I have other methods to find out and make it more definitive going forward.
I guess we have some cameras.
I didn't want to say that out loud. Very well hidden cameras.
Understood. Is there anything else we can do for you tonight, Mike?
No, I've taken up enough of your time.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much for listening.
Thank you, Mike.
Have a good night. Thank you
Night.
all.
Next on the agenda is the acceptance of October 18th, 2023 minutes. I have reviewed them. I've sent Josh my comments. Anybody else?
One, it's
I
very
know they got
small
your name
thing.
wrong again. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's one word, it's
It's-
Paula Jean, and
It's-
two L's on O'Neill.
Yes, we noticed it again.
Okay,
It was part of my comments.
oh, okay.
We addressed it and I
I
will.
almost didn't want to say it, but I figured,
You do every
now or
time.
never, right.
We keep trying,
Okay.
but it has been corrected. Anybody else?
Motion to accept the minutes?
I have a motion to accept the minutes of October 18th, and I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, 700. We have interviews. Donna, you're up. Donna Colbert is here in her second meeting with us. Introduce yourself, please.
Hi, my name is Donna Colbert. I live at 243 Glen Charlie Road in East Wareham.
You have any questions for us? This is your second time.
I do have questions for you. I have questions about learning about the properties to be, or the projects to be discussed. How long ahead of time do you learn about these projects as a committee?
Josh gives us the copies of the public hearings, the public notices, and access to all the plans the Thursday before this meeting.
The Thursday before, okay. And then as a rule, you try each independently to get out to these properties to see if that's possible, right?
Yes. And I, of course, I'm not too mobile right now, but I still owe Paula Jean a trip with me to see the sites, and it will happen when anybody else joins the board to have a chance to visit the sites with me. And there are people who get together and go out as 2 or 3 at a time and go visit the sites, but we do recommend site visits so we are aware of what it looks like that we are discussing.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, there are some communities where the whole commission will go out to sites together. That could be considered a open meeting. So if that's something the commission wanted to do, we would need to post that. So please give me notice ahead of time. But as long as there's not a quorum of members.
And a quorum is 4.
Correct. So just something to keep in mind.
Yes.
That's all I'm saying.
Those were my questions.
And questions around? Jessica?
No questions.
Autumn?
I just want to say thank you for your interest in the commission. It's always great to get additional perspective and interest in the conservation of our town. Thank you.
Carol?
No questions, thank you.
Kwame?
No questions.
Michael.
Good luck.
No,
Paula
thank you.
Jean?
No questions, nice to see you again.
Thank you.
And I do Buzzards Bay Coalition as your background.
Yes.
Thank you. This is a second visit. She's been to our meetings at least twice. I would like to have a motion to recommend to the Board of Selectmen that she be appointed as an associate member to Conservation.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstain. I will write a email to the Board of Selectmen's chair indicating our vote to recommend you as an associate. You'll be hearing from the selectmen as to when you will be on their agenda.
Okay,
Thank you.
great, thank you.
Okay. Joseph, you're up. And you've been to more than one meeting, we know.
Oh, yes, I've been here a couple
You've been sitting
times.
back there.
It's always good listening to everybody, right?
Introduce yourself, please.
Joe Still, 9 Right Lane resident in Wareham.
Any questions for us?
No, it's pretty standard, you know,
Pretty standard.
pretty standard.
Okay. So you've been through more than one of these, and this is a fairly short meeting.
Yeah, you had a lot of things continued, right?
Yes. It helps every once in a while to have some continued. Okay, Jessica?
No questions.
Autumn,
Thank you for your interest in the commission.
No questions, thank you.
Kwame,
No questions. Good
Michael.
luck.
Same thing, no questions, thank
Paula
you.
Jean.
No questions.
Then I would like to have a motion to make a recommendation that Joseph Still be appointed an associate member of Conservation.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 700. As I said to Donna, I will be putting your name to the selectmen because they are the ones that do the actual appointing. We just do the recommending. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Yes.
Okay,
Well, you guys are the ones that want me to tell you about the administrative approval, so that's what I'm gonna
Okay.
do. I've approved 2 administrative approvals. They were for hazardous trees next to homes. Both of them were outside of the 30-foot no activity, but within the 100-foot buffer to a resource area, so.
and the locations?
Ooh, one of them was 79 Oak Street.
Oh, I thought I heard some sawing and chopping and
Yes.
across the street from me.
Yeah, they're pretty close to you. And then the other one, oh, I'm not gonna be able to remember. I'm sorry, I'll make a
Okay.
list next time I come.
All right, because I did hear, I almost got walking over there to take a look at what they've done, because I'm saying they're cutting trees. And okay, thank you. Is that it? Okay, Carol,
Motion to adjourn the meeting,
at
57.
7:57.
7:57.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, we're adjourned. Thank you very much. Don't forget to be here to sign papers.